All right, so let's get on. Again, welcome to the call, and I'm excited to have everyone here on this call. All right, just give me a minute. Let me share my screen. All right, everyone, good evening and welcome to this session. All right, this is another masterclass session with Analytics, and today we are going to be tracking financial metrics using Microsoft Power BI. Okay, and we're going to be looking at it from a perspective of a financial analyst. All right, so I know a lot of people are joining this call for the first time. So before we get started, I would like us to do a little bit of an interaction with one another. All right, so if you are joining from any part of the world, all right, especially if you are joining for the first time, I want you to go ahead into the chat and type a 1. But if you're not joining for the first time, that means you've been here before. I want you to type a 0 in the chat, all right? I want you to go ahead and type a 0 in the chat, all right? So I want to see those information coming in so that I know who my audience are tonight. Fantastic. So we are getting an echo, all right? That's done now. I can see Caleb is saying he's joining for the first time. Raphael as well. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Adewale is not joining for the first time. Anthony is not joining. Bali is joining for the first time. Fantastic, fantastic. So it's good to have every one of you on this call, and I'm excited to unlock everything I have in store for you guys today. Okay, so let's stay tuned, and I hope we have an interactive session. I love having an interactive session, so I'm expecting each and every one of you to be ready to say one or two things. I'll be looking out in the chat anyway, so that we can, talk and understand each other. Okay? All right. So let's introduce who we are actually working with today. I mean, we saw these flyers, we saw everything on the web before we joined into this call. So basically today, we are going to be having a master class with no other than Tenalytics, okay? Tenalytics is a leading edtech company that has helped over 2,000 individuals transition into tech with no tech background to their first jobs in tech, all right? Across different backgrounds in the US, UK, Canada, Europe, Africa, and Asia. In Tenalytics, we are basically committed to making sure that the technological sector is more accessible through premium experiential training in fields like data analytics, business analysis, data engineering, data science, financial analytics, HR analytics, agile project management, Scrum Master, cybersecurity, and AI engineering. We have a wealth of facilitators from diverse backgrounds with a vast amount of experience waiting for you in the classrooms to divulge most of this knowledge into your learning processes. All right, so with Analytics, if you are going to be trusting us with your EdTech journey, your transition journey, trust me, you are going to be in the best hands. Okay, so before we talk more about how we can join Analytics to help us transition into tech, I would love us to also get to meet the anchor for tonight, and that's no other than myself. Okay, so Mary is a data and HR expert, and she's a professional with over 5 years of experience in data analytics, HR analytics, as well as data science, specializing in cutting-edge tools and technologies such as Power BI, as we're going to be using tonight, Excel, Tableau, Python, and SQL. All right, so we'll still talk all about that. Now, as a senior data associate here at Analytics, Mary has successfully guided over 1,065 individuals into technological careers, equipping them with a skill to transition seamlessly into data-driven roles. And I'm going to show you a snippet of how exactly we do that by training us on how to use Power BI to make informed decisions. All right. I've had the opportunity to work in diverse sectors, which includes the legislative operations, importation and marketing, non-governmental organization, consulting, and edtech company like Analytics. Okay. So now that we've known who our facilitator is going to be, I believe it's time for us to understand why we are here today, isn't it? All right, so let's get into that. Okay, so why are we here? The first thing we need to do today is to understand how we can track financial metrics using Power BI as a financial analyst. The next thing we are going to do after we've successfully done this would be to get started as to see how we can get started as soon as possible. That is joining the April cohort or even the June cohort. All right, I would recommend the April cohort because it is coming as it's coming with a huge discount. Okay, now we are going to talk all about that, and we are also going to see those that have successfully gone through these programs and how their success story turned out. Okay, then after that we'll talk more about that discount that I just mentioned, the IWD discount, the special offer for every one of us. All right, so like I mentioned, today we are going to be breaking down some or dissecting some processes, okay? And that includes understanding how to use Power BI to track financial metrics, okay? So before I get started, I would also like to know, do we have any financial analytics enthusiasts or professionals in the house tonight? Or in fact, data professionals or enthusiasts in the house tonight? If you are, just go into the chat and type yeah, okay? Just go into the chat and type yeah. Let's see you. Okay, okay. All right. I'm not seeing anybody typing anything yet, so we don't have anybody excited to be here. All right, I can see Jen, I can see Anthony. Fantastic. Yeah, awesome. I can see Stephanie as well. Fantastic. I'm also excited to be here with you guys tonight. So we are going to dive into our case study. I mean, this is what analytics is all about, helping us to use real life case studies to summarize everything about a business and helping them make data-driven decisions. All right, so let's look at a snippet of this case study and what we are expected to do. Okay, so all right, I can see I believe that's Kite. Skite has their hand raised. So Skite, do you mind typing your question in the comment section, and we'll take it immediately after this, okay? All right. Okay, so let's get back to our case study. So we're going to be looking at the financial analysis with Grow Food Limited, all right? Financial analysis with Grow Food Limited, all right? So what does Grow have for us today? So Grow Limited, Food Limited is a UK-based food distribution company that supplies traditional British food products, all right? The management wants to understand the company's financial performance in Q4 2024 to identify profitability trends and optimize costs ahead of future strategic decisions, and has tasked the financial analyst with evaluating the financial performance by tracking key metrics, okay? So basically, this company understands the valuable need for a data-driven decision-making, and they want to understand what the company has been doing so far in terms of finance, right? How has the financial performance been so far? What are the profitability trends? Are we still in profits? Are we going upwards or downwards, or we are just fluctuating here and there? All right. So they want to understand what is happening in the business, and then they can use whatever insights the financial analyst has been able to draw from tracking these key metrics to help them make informed decision as to what approaches they can take towards their business in the nearest future. Okay, so let's look at some of these tasks that the financial analyst is going to be carrying out, or the key focus area of a financial analyst when they are faced with this kind of tasks. Okay, so we have the financial analyst tasks. Okay, now as a financial analyst, our goal here is to build a Power BI dashboard that provides insights into sales. Okay, now for sales, or sales performance rather, this would mean we want to look at the regions and segments that contribute to most revenues. Okay, now for profitability, on the other hand, this would mean that we want to look at the gross sales compared to the cost of goods sold and operating expenses. We also look at the return on sales, okay? Return on sales is basically what we know as profit or profit margin, right? In this situation, we are looking at diverse areas that contribute to, both expenses and returns, all right? So whatever we have left, that's what we call the return on sales, all right? So which customer segments are most profitable? We want to answer all of those questions to help the business gain proper insight. We're also going to look at seasonal trends. That is, how does sale vary across the fourth quarter as indicated. So the months that make up the fourth quarter is October, November, and December. All right, October, November, and December. That is our fourth quarter. Okay, so we also have operational efficiency. Want to understand how efficient operations has been. All right, what is the relationship between sales volume and profitability? So these are some of the key insights that we are going to be tracking today. So as a financial analyst, or in fact a data professional or a data enthusiast, these are some of the things that you can use data to do. I mean, we already know that data exists in every form and format. Even right now, as we are talking, we are contributing to, Zoom's data, okay? This meeting we are having, they are collecting it as a data that, okay, these people are, Analytics is having a masterclass on financial analytics, and they had so and so amounts of people on the call, all right? In our comments as well, when I say, okay, say this or type this, and we are interacting, I'm able to know who is joining the call for the first time and then who is not joining the call for the first time, right? So these are ways that we can use data to interact and gain valuable insights from things that are happening around us. This is exactly what we are going to do. But data doesn't just come in a finished format. It always comes in a raw format. Let's take, for example, this particular format that we are going to be handling today, right? We are going to be taking our data from this particular state, okay? You can see our rows and numbers and everything like that. If I ask anyone on this call, how many times does water appear under utility type in this particular data set that we have here? I'm sure some of us will go ahead and start counting one by one and so on and so forth. And that is not the way to go about it. This particular data set could have millions and millions of rows. Imagine counting everything one after the other, right? This is where data analytics skill set comes in. And that means we are going to take these data sets from the raw format it is in right now and transform it into something like this, okay? We can see a dashboard here. Let me make it a bit bold for us to see what we are taking it from. We've already seen the raw data, right? We can see segments, region, and everything like that. We can see a lot of numbers, but we can't sum it up completely just by looking at these sheets, right? But we are going to take it from this raw state into this finished state right here. Much more better for us to understand or even generate insights from. Let's look at it much more properly, right? So today we're going to be building this particular dashboard that we have here right now in front of us, all right? We'll take that raw data. Don't worry, I'm going to share the raw data with us so that we can also try and practice as I go along, all right? And then we're going to build this dashboard, all right? Although it looks quite petite, but it's packed with information. And trust me, at the end of this dashboard development, we are going to take time to answer some questions, all right? So I want us to pay close attention. Also, I noticed that my colleague is also sending some forms in the chat, all right? If you want to be able to get all these recordings as well as the slide I'm using right now, please make sure to fill out that feedback form. It is very important, all right? Okay, so I believe that has been established, so we can dive in, all right? So today we are going to be working with a tool called Power BI, all right? A tool called Power BI. Most of us would have heard about it, while a lot of us might have heard but have never used it. And a good number of us have never heard about it, okay? So there's a lot of dynamics going on this call right now, and I'm very certain of that, okay? So Power BI is basically a business intelligence tool, a tool that helps us to transform data from raw formats to a finished dashboard or report that helps us generate proper insights. Okay, so like I mentioned, if you fill out that form in the chat, you'll be able to get this slide. All right, so if you've never interacted with Power BI before, you also get a link on how to download it. All right, not just where to download it from, but this link right here will show you a step-by-step tutorial of how to download Power BI onto your local device, okay? Now, the next link we have here is the data set we are going to be working with today, all right? So don't worry, I'm going to share this link with you immediately so that you can also download the data set, okay? So let's get into that, all right? So we've already seen the tasks that we have today, and we need to dive into it immediately, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and click on that link. Okay, I'll just go ahead, select that. All right. Okay, so that's been opened up right now. I'm going to drop that in the chat as well. Fantastic. So I can see all of my data sets is now displayed on the screen right now. We have access to Britgrow Food Limited financial metric data set. Okay, so as promised, I'll be sharing that link with all of us. Okay, so let me just drop that in the chat. Okay, so every one of us should be able to see it. All right. So once you get in there, just go into the chat, click on it. I can see some of us are already coming in. I can see Anonymous Hamster is already here. And also I can see Anonymous Dolphin, Anonymous Kangaroo. Fantastic. So just click on it and then you are going to get into this place to be able to download it. Now, if you're a little confused about how do I get this data on my PC, that is exactly what we are going to do next, okay? So this is what I want to do. I'm going to go in here, all right, where I have my file, okay? You can see that we have a list of tabs here from file, edit, view, insert, format, data to, and all that, all right? I want you to pay attention to this file tab. Okay, I want you to pay attention to this file tab. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on that, okay, and it extends downwards. The next thing I want us to do here is going to be to scroll down to where we have download, all right? Scroll down to where you have downloads and then head over to the options that are popped up beside the download. Okay, you can see an arrow pointing towards those options. Now, this is a list of formats that we can download this file as. And our preferred option for tonight, okay, would be Microsoft Excel. Okay, Microsoft Excel. This will allow us to download it directly into our File Explorer on our local PC or local device. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and download mine. I just click on that Microsoft Excel and you can see that it has started downloading already. Okay, so immediately it's done, I'm just going to go ahead and look for it in my File Explorer. So let me just click on that. Okay, you can see our folder right here, and this is now available. All right, this is now available for me in my own File Explorer. All right, so this is it right here. All right, so I want you to also check your own File Explorer as well, and you should be able to find it there. Okay, so I can see a lot of anonymous individuals, anonymous chinchilla, anonymous buffalo. All right, so please make sure to download it, all the anonymous. All right, and then we can get into Power BI and start working. All right, so like I mentioned, we have a video tutorial right there in our slides that shows you how to download Power BI efficiently. But tonight, I'm just going to take you through how to use that particular tool to make decisions or create decisions for businesses, or in fact, for your own personal use. All right, now let's look at, let me bring up my Power BI and then we get started. All right, so I'm just going to go to my start button. I have my Power BI right here. Just with a click of a button, I'm expecting that to open up. So we're just going to give it some time. All right, we're just going to give it some time. Now, let's see. Okay. All right, so I can see some hands raised. I know I saw Sky's hand and I've seen Olushola. Okay, Mr. Olushola. Yes. If you have a question, please drop it in the chat box. After our, dashboard, we are going to take most of those questions, okay? For now, please make sure. All right, I can see everyone is saying they can't see my screen. I hope that has been resolved already. All right, so someone says we are still seeing your PPT. Okay, that's on me. All right, let me just take that off right now. All right, that means we didn't see exactly how we can take or download our Excel sheet. So let me get back there. All right, let me get back to that so that we can also download our own Excel sheets. All right, so I'm sure some of us would have used the guidance I've given vocally, all right, to do that, but I'm still going to show us so that we have it on record as well. All right, so yeah, I can still see some of us are still joining in. I can see an ibex. All right, so that's an interesting animal that I'm going to look up after this session. Okay, so back to how to download your file, right? So you want to go to this place where you have your file. Okay, you want to go to this place where you have your file information. All right, and then you want to go ahead and scroll down. All right, this file tab right here, click on it, and then you scroll down to where you have download. Okay, once you scroll down to where you have download, there's an arrow pointing towards your right, and it also gives you a drop-down list of different file types. All right, now I want you to go ahead and click on your Microsoft Excel. All right, click on Microsoft Excel. This would allow you to download your file as Microsoft Excel. Okay. Now, once you are done, okay, I've already done that on my end, but I'm just going to do it again twice for good luck, right? All right, so it's being downloaded right now. Just going up there, okay? And you should be able to find it in your File Explorer, all right? So you remember this folder area that you have on your PC, okay? It is right there under the download area. So I'm just going to show us very briefly, and then we get back to Power BI, all right? So once I click on it, maybe yours takes you to your home tab. You can just navigate through the bars here, desktop, downloads, and all that. Once you click on desktop, you should be able to see what you just downloaded right here. Okay, so I have my original file here and the other one. All right. Okay, I hope that's good now. We are all on the same page. We are all good. All right, fantastic, fantastic. All right. Okay, then we can now move on to Power BI. Okay, so we can see how we can develop that amazing dashboard that we just saw. Okay, so like I mentioned, we are going to be taking our raw data sets and transforming it into this. Okay, we'll transform it into this dashboard that we have here. All right, now let's go on. Now, the next thing I want to do now is just to head into my Power BI. My Power BI is already opened up here, all right? So this is what our Power BI interface looks like. Now, Power BI is not just a tool that helps you transform data. It also helps you to connect to diverse sources, okay? Diverse sources, any source that you can think of, it has at least a connector or a solution to that connection, all right? So if you are someone that is conversant with tools like SQL, you can definitely connect your database into Power BI. If you are used to working with or storing your data in Excel or CSV formats, you can also connect your data fully into Power BI. Now, the first thing that we want to do here, if you want to carry out any data analytics step, is to go ahead and bring in your data or collect your data into Power BI. All right, so I'm going to open up a blank report page. All right, opening up a blank report page, and this directly takes me to my Power BI report view. Okay, so this view that we are seeing right here on my screen is called the Power BI report view. All right, the Power BI report view. The reason why it's called the report view is because that is exactly where we are going to be placing our dashboard, or rather developing our dashboard. But before we start developing our dashboard, we still need to bring in our data set, okay? And that is exactly what we need to do right now. All right. So in Power BI, there's something called get data. Okay. It's as simple as that. Get data. If you want to bring in your data, you want to collect your data, you head over to where you have this particular icon that is labeled get data. Now, once you get to that icon labeled get data, there's a tiny drop down button right there in front of your screen. Okay. And all you want to do is just click on that drop down. All right. And you have access to diverse common data sources. Okay. Diverse common data sources. Now, the list we have here is just a tiny bit of what Power BI actually has, okay? So it still has more options, okay? Connects to data from multiple sources, all right? You still have more options, but we are working with some of the lists or some of the options that we have here today, which is Microsoft Excel, all right? It means that we are going to be importing our data using Microsoft Excel, okay? So let's dive in. I'll click on Microsoft Workbook right now, and this should open up my File Explorer for me. Okay, now that I have access to File Explorer, I'm going to go ahead and click on Grow, all right? Brits Grow Foods data set. Okay, so once I select that particular data set, I can click on open. All right, and I'm waiting for my data to connect. All right. Now, while it's connecting, before we get into our next stage, Power BI is going to allow us to see a preview of our data. Just in case we are not sure which particular data set we are bringing in, we'll still be able to preview it, all right? And then make a decision whether we are ready to load it into Power BI or we still want to do some data cleaning, okay? Now, let's wait for it to show us what it has for us. All right. So right here we have our BitGrow Food Limited. All right, BitGrow Food Limited. Right now, we don't have any data set in our preview. We still have to select it for us to be able to see it. Right. So I'll go ahead and click on this checkbox. Okay, the checkbox beside it, there's a tiny checkbox right there. All right, so I'll go ahead and click on that. Now, this will allow me to see everything inside that Excel sheet that we just downloaded. All right, just a little bit of preview. Okay, this is not all of it, but at least is enough for me to know if it is the correct data set I'm bringing in or not, right? Now, I can see that I have some places where I have issues with my data. This particular column, I can see a lot of null, null, null. Now, null means empty. There's nothing in that particular area. Okay, so I have some buttons down here as well that tells me, okay, do you want to load your data? Which means, do you want to carry on and start analyzing your data, or you want to transform your data? Now, data transformation is a process whereby we clean our data or remove any data discrepancies within our data set. We can also go ahead and change some or do extra calculations within our columns in this process of transformation. And that is exactly what we are going to go ahead and do right now. All right. Okay, so let's go on. So if I click on this data transformation button, it is going to open up for me a tool called Power Query. Now, Power Query is a built-in editor that is used for data cleaning, all right, and data transformation, okay? Let's not forget the word transformation because that is the major thing that Power Query actually does. But it has data cleaning abilities and also a lot of data transformation abilities. Okay, now what does it do for me? It helps me summarize my data. Imagine I am working with millions of rows of data and I have to scroll up and down to find out how many empty rows I have in my data set, right? That is going to be very, very strenuous. Now, another thing I want you to look out for is this particular summary right here. It tells me exactly what is going on in each column of my data set. So I have valid 50% and I also have empty 50%. Now this empty 50% is telling me that half of my data set or the table I have in here consists of empty data. That means I have a lot of null values right here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just scroll through. All right, just to be sure if this null is consistent. Now, the fact that it is consistent throughout the data set tells me that this is something that is, as it seems, consistent throughout the rows of my data. That means if I filter down to that null value, it will show me all the rows. It will show all the rows as empty. Okay, so we are going to practicalize that. But before we do, I'm going to start by taking out this particular column that has null values right here. Okay, so I'll click on this. Okay, and then to remove it, I have a lot of options here that can help me do that. And if I look on this tab, I can see choose column or remove column. Now, instead of me clicking on this drop down, okay, instead of me clicking on this drop down or this icon rather, I can also take another step, which is just to click on the column, right click, okay, and then click remove. All right. Now, this particular step is a bit tiny, so I don't think we'll be able to see that properly, especially for those of us joining on our phone. So let me use the big icon to take this out. All right. So I'll go to this place that says remove column and I'll click on it. Now, what it will do, it will remove the column that I had selected, just that one. And the interesting part is that it stores all the steps that I am taking. All right. I'm going to tell us why it is storing all the steps that we are taking, because I want to take another step and I want us to note that it's going to actually add a new step for us here. All right. So let's go on. Okay. So right here, where we have date, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and click on it. All right. And then I want to go ahead and look through that null value. So all I want to do is unselect everything here and inspect that null value situation or empty indicator that I'm having here. So I'll click OK. All right. And you can see immediately I took a step, it applied that filtered rows. Okay. And now I can see that that particular null value is consistent throughout these data sets. And there's a simple trick of how we can actually take that out. I'll go back again and use that filter method. This time, select all of my data and unselect the null value. Okay. Select all of my data and unselect the null value. Okay, now I can see that I should have 100% data here. Okay, let me just see if I can just refresh. All right, so you're supposed to interpret 100% valid data, but it's still showing 100% empty. This could just be a little bit of a glitch issue, but that is fine. All right, as long as we can see that our data set is all right and okay. Okay, so now the next thing I want us to do is just to make sure that the data we're actually bringing in is valid, right? We've looked at the null value situation and we've looked at, the valid situation, all right? We looked at the null value situation, we looked at the value situation. The next thing we want to look at is our data structure for the valid data, obviously. Okay, our data structure for the valid data. Let me just do that one more time. Okay. All right, so it seems like my screen is, or my tool is frozen, but not to worry. Like I said, if we have the right data in front of us, we are good to go. All right, so now the next thing we want to do is to make sure that the valid data is actually in the right format and in the right state, right? So we look through our data, we make sure that, where we have text value, it's also, represented in this icon as text. Where we have date, we have the calendar icon. Where we have text, we have the ABC icon. And where we have numbers or decimals, we also have them represented properly, okay? So right here, we have the 1, 2, 3 formats representing whole numbers. And then we also have the 1.2 representing decimals. So as much as there's even one decimal place existing in that column, you are going to see the decimal icon. All right, so why are we even talking about this? The reason why we're talking about this is just because when you want to analyze your data, you want to make sure that everything is properly prepared. In some situations, you might find out that your number or your whole numbers is actually saved as text, right? Now, it is in your right to go into Power Query and transform that to the right data type. All right, so now we can look through our data and I can assure us that our data is good to go. All right, our data is good to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and close and apply so that we can start building our dashboard. So I'll click on this, close and apply. This would immediately start bringing in my data, my newly transformed data. Everything that we did there, the filtering and all that would now be effective in the data that is coming in. So all those null values and everything is left behind in Power Query and would not disturb us right here in Power BI. Okay, so let's wait for that to load. All right, and then we get on. All right, so I can see also saying it doesn't appear on mine. All right, there's a way that you can actually show that. Okay, let me see. Once this data is fully loaded, I would go ahead and just quickly show us and then get back to it. All right, how to bring that up. All right, so our data set is fully loaded. And as Nelson has expressed, he said his own Power Query is not showing us the column quality. So let me just head over back into Power Query. All right, so this is my shortcut to go back into Power Query. I'll just click on that and we are back. All right, just with a click of a button, we are back into Power Query. Now, what you want to do to be able to see your own column quality, all right, would just be to go to where you have view. Okay, you should be able to see this on your own end. All right, so now it's showing the right information, valid 100%. Okay, so you go to the view tab and then you head over to where you have your column quality, right? Now this column quality would be unchecked. All you want to do is just go ahead and click on it, all right, and you have this view. You can also try out other options here and you'll be fine. All right, there's so much to learn in Power Query, but tonight we're just going to do what is required for our analysis. All right, so I'll go ahead and close and apply and we'll get back to business. Of course, you can do that, all right? Caleb, you can absolutely correct your data after you close and apply. Just like I just did, I opened up my Power Query again, and I can go back in there and make some changes or, undo some steps as well, all right? All right, so now we can start working on our analysis. Now, this company has mentioned that they need us to help them see what is going on in the fourth quarter's finances, right? They want to evaluate financial performance for their business, okay? So the main thing that they want to look out for here is the sales performance, their profitability, and the return on sales, that's their ROS, on sales so that they know exactly how the business is doing. Another thing that they also want to look at is their seasonal trends. That's looking through the fourth quarter and evaluating sales performance or fluctuations in sales during those periods. All right, so let's dive in. The first thing we want to do is just to lay out some of our KPIs that would actually help us see these things differently. All right, and one of my favorite KPI cards to use would be the card visual. All right. So now Power BI allows you to just come in here and select any visual of your choice to use to interpret your data. Now, a lot of us might have not noticed, but our data set, that's broad data set that we just looked at in Power Query, is now right here, just like a list. Now, it just gives us all the titles of our data set headers, all right? The headers of our data set. This does not mean that our data set has disappeared, but it's giving us a brief representation of everything that we have in there. Now, let's get back to it. I'm going to go ahead and select my card visual, all right? And then I can just move it around. Let me just close off this filter and minimize it if I want to, okay? All right. So I think this size is fine. Now, the next thing I want to do is to look at one of the key performance indicators in this business, all right? So if a business is going to go ahead and track their financial performance, they want to see something like the total amount of sales that they made, right? That's one of the crucial things that they are going to be looking out for. How much did we sell? How much did we make? Okay, aside from other expenses, let's know how much actually came into the business, right? So we are going to go ahead and click on that, gross sales. All right, so that should be visible in a few minutes. So this is just iterating, doing the little calculation, and we have our sum. So it tells us that we have a sum of 3 million. So now what we want to do here is just to go ahead and rename this. If I want to present this to stakeholders, I want to make sure that when they read through my report, they see exactly what is there, all right? So if I present this saying 3 million is the sum of gross sales, it doesn't totally explain to them what is going on, or it doesn't pass through in a fluid manner. Let me use that word, right? So what I'm going to do now is just to change the title here a little bit, and that will just be me going into this field area. Okay, I'll just click on this and change that name to total. Okay, and that's a total gross sales. All right, so the next thing I want to do now is very simple. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this particular card visual and look into something else, okay? The next thing I want to look at is the operational expenses, right? All right, so I'll just copy this and I have 3 cards that I want to create, okay? So the next one I want to look at would be my total expenses. Now that I've seen how much money has come into the business, I also want to see how much money has been, you know, used in expenses in running the business and ensuring that things are going smoothly, right? That should also be in the summary. All right, so I'll go into my visual, or rather my data panel, to look for that particular information. All right, operational expenses. All right, operational expenses. So I'll just uncheck this gross sales and check my operational expenses. Now, right here again, I'll go in and change that sum off to total. Just as simple as that, right? Okay, so now we have this information here. Now, if you look at this very well, and I bring it in front of my manager, right? And we are working in an institution that has different kinds of currencies, right? It will be very, very important that we interpret this in the currency that is most dominant in the business, right? So we can't just present this data like this. Just 3 million total gross profit. 3 million what? Is it dollar, euro, pounds, naira? What exactly are we evaluating? So Brits Grow is actually a UK company based on the locations that we have within our data set. So we're going to be using what? We're going to be using the pounds. Now, how do we implement the pounds or currency information? Very simple. I'll be going into a session called the table view of my data set, and I'll be transforming these two columns into what's it called? Euros, all right? So that it can also reflect on our card visual. So I'll go in there, all right? And then I have my data set showing here in table view, just like we have in Excel, right? Okay, so we can do little transformations here as well. So I'll click on my operation expenses, all right? And it will allow me to actually change my data type from just general or whole number into a specific currency, all right? So I'll click on this. I'll go to United Kingdom currency, click on that, and wait for my column to take that new information. All right, so we can see that here. Now, the other column I also want to do this with would be this particular one here, which is our gross sales. All right. I'm also going to do this for all the other columns that we'll be requiring in our analysis, and that would include operating profit. All right, operating profit. All right, so this is just to make sure that when our information is coming out, we have all the right summaries. So here, operating profits, I'll go in here and change that to pounds. All right, so we are done with that. Now let's move on, okay? I'll go back to my dashboard and you can see, right? We have our currency now showing in our summary. Amazing. Now, the last thing I want to see here as to my metrics would be my actual return on sales, all right? At the end of the day, what is the percentage of profits that this business was able to accumulate, okay? And that is no other than the operations, rather the return on sales information that I have here. So I'll just go in here and check this and click on this. Now, the return on sales would not be okay if we just bring it in as sum. The best way we can uh, visualize this would actually be looking at the average, all right? So I'll convert this to average, all right? And we have this information here. Now, if you look at this properly, it's just showing us, 0.34, which means that this column is still not in the right format. Okay, so I'll just go into my format, my visual, go to my value, that's my color value information, and see how I can change my, okay, so I still need to go back into my table view and transform that into a percentage column. All right, so I'll go in there, ROS, return on sales, click on the percentage sign. All right. You can see that has transformed even properly and neatly as well. And let's see what we have now. All right, so we have 34.44%, which seems good, but can be better, all right? Businesses will be looking for an average of something close to 100 or over 100, in fact, right? And this is somewhere around that. Not really close, okay? Still below average, all right? So they are doing well so far. They are not in the negative. So I believe that is also something to consider. Now, we also want to go a step further to look into some other things, right? And that will require us looking at the regions that are actually making the highest sales, all right? So, like I mentioned, this particular organization is located in the UK, but it's actually operating in different countries, or rather different places, right? So we want to see which particular area do we have more sales, all right? Which particular areas do we have more sales? That will require me to use a map, actually. I want to see on the map using color codes to actually evaluate the areas where more sales are coming in than others, okay? So let me just adjust my map first, and then I'll select the actual information that I need here. The first one is going to be my region, all right? Or yeah, my region. So my region is under legend right now, but I'll just take it up to location, all right? And then I want to also take the gross sales, all right? So my gross sales will be my color information here. Well, I'll be changing the sum of to total. All right. So the reason why I'm changing this is because it's going to also reflect on the title here. All right. So I want to make sure that that information is also visible. Now, the next thing I want to do here is also to make sure that this is showing, right? I can see United States of America, but I remember mentioning that this region is actually in the UK. So let's fix this, okay? So I'll just go into my format your visual area where I can work on my visual settings. I go to my map settings and I have map types. So I have USA here and I have a list of other countries. And luckily for me, I also have the UK countries. So I'll go ahead and click on that and I can see now the UK map, right? If I hover on it, it will tell me the specific area I'm on and also the total gross sales that has occurred in that particular region. Now, even with the shades that we can see here, I believe someone can easily tell me where the most sales comes in, right? The thicker the color, the more the money or the more the revenue being generated in an area. So Wales has it for us, okay? Wales has the highest sales, followed by England, and then we also have North Ireland and Scotland. Okay, Scotland is coming last in terms of total sales. We could find it on a different basis when we start evaluating with different products. Okay, that's the interesting thing about data analytics. You start to become a detective, seeing things and uncovering insight just by clicking and interacting with data, right? So let's look at another area here. This time around, we'll be evaluating by looking at the products that are actually being sold. What is the total gross profit generated? Also, what is the total operation expenses? Okay, I believe that's what we have here. Okay, total operating profits. All right, so now let's go in and look at that. Okay, we have total operating profits here as well. No problem, can fix that. Now, what we want to do here is just to take a little bit of our charts. Okay, which chart are we going to use now? I believe I saw three things on our chart, so I think I can make use of the line and stacked column chart. This will help me interpret this data properly. Now, I'm considering the fact that I have a descriptive data to work with and at least three metrics or rather numerical data to work with right now. All right, I want to look at how each product performs in terms of sales and profit generation. All right, so that I can use this as a metric and tell them, okay, these are the areas we are doing well. These are the products that are actually selling well for the company. All right, so I'll go in here, okay, and I'll pick on the products. All right. And then the next thing I want to do as well is to select my gross sales information. Now I can see the products with the highest sales already properly aligned from the maximum sales to the least, which is baked beans. Now, another thing I want to also see here would be how much profit this particular products are actually generating for the business. So I'll go ahead and click on profit, operating profits, okay? And we can see that summary right here, all right? So we can see how much each of these is making. Now, the good thing or the interesting thing about profits or measuring profits in businesses is the fact that sometimes you have a lot of sales, but then in terms of profits, it is not as much, right? So we also want to make sure that we know the particular products that are giving us the highest return on investment or return on sales. All right, this is why we have this here. Whiskey is giving a lot of sales, but then if you look at the profits, we have a good profit actually, £250,400. The same applies with fish and chips. That might not even be the highest selling product, but in terms of profits, the margin is quite high. It is actually the highest and most profitable product in this particular business. All right. You might not be able to know that when you just look at the total sales and you say, hey, you know what? Since this is bringing us more money, let's keep investing here. All right. Although it's bringing a lot of profit, but it doesn't bring the highest profit. Now, look at this interpretation, right? So we are seeing more and more of what is happening inside this particular data just by visualizing it. If I was looking at it on that table, I wouldn't know what is actually happening. But now that I'm summarizing it into all these charts, I can actually see what is happening and I can follow up on the next step and the things that we should do. I believe this is why the manager of Brits Grow Food has also asked us to do this analysis. Now, one last thing that we also need to look at would be the return on sales, all right? This is us evaluating the profit margin, all right, how well each of these products are done. So I'm going to bring in the return of sales average here, okay? And just put that on the y-axis. So we have a line right there. Another thing I have to do here is just to change the titles of my gross sales. So I'll change that to total. And right here as well, operating total operating profit. Okay, total operating profit. So that's that. All right. So we have our information here, properly evaluated. I'm just going to shorten this a bit. Average ROS. And back to this where we look at our profits, right? Total operating profits. Okay, so this just shows us exactly what we need to look out for in terms of how much money we've actually generated from these sales and then the percentage of that information. So this makes sense. The 34% now makes sense looking at this gross sales and then the profit that was actually generated. Okay. Now, for the last major chart that we need to look out for here, that would actually be our trends, okay? We want to see the seasonalities in sales, okay? We want to see the seasonalities in sales, all right? So I'm sure we are all enjoying these processes right now. We are looking at how the data is being transformed and how we are able to see places that can spark interest or even more discussions with management in terms of the next step and the next things to do, right? So as usual, if you want to have this recording and everything accessible, make sure to fill out the form being shared by Oluwaseun, all right? Make sure to click on that link and fill out the information, okay? Now let's go back. We want to go ahead with the line chart. All right. If we're looking at seasonality and trends, I believe the line chart is your best friend. This will help you see all the trends and patterns of fluctuations or up and down fluidity of your data. All right. So let's look at this by evaluating the transactions that happens in the business. So what other way to look into our transactions or the inflow of business by other than looking at the dates, right? So I'll click on that date information so that I can see everything that happens throughout the time from Monday to Tuesday, from October to December. All right, so the next thing I also want to do here would be to bring up my total gross sales. All right. So right here, since we're only dealing with 2024, I will take out this year here. And since we're only dealing with one quarter, which is the fourth quarter, I will also take out my quarter information. I only have October to November, so that is fine. okay? Another thing I would like to do here is just look at this as total gross sales. Now, if I want to go in a little bit further to look at what is happening in all the days of the week, right? In October, how was sales in November, and so on and so forth. I can go ahead and drill down, right? And this will allow me to see what is happening in this particular data set, all right? I can see everything drilled down properly, all right? So I can just scroll through and see that, okay? So I believe this is a little bit extended more than I require. So I'll just go ahead and bring that date in again, all right? And probably just drill down. All right, so this is exactly what we have as well. So we can just go through using our tooltip. That's this card that keeps appearing when we hover on our data to see what is happening. So we can see all the seasonalities, the up and down and all that. Now, if you look here, you would notice that in December, there's more sales for the business than any other time. There's a little bit of high drop here, all right? And then you keep having, the normal trends that you've been seeing already. Now in October, there's a good sale, all right, but it's not as much as December. Now this could be because of the seasonal periods. People are hanging out more, they are leaving the office, they are taking their leaves and spending more time and more money. All the money they have saved, they are spending it on, outings, on fish and chips and biscuits and cheese and all that, right? So probably that is why we have a high spark. Now, what this is going to do for the business is that once they see this kind of information, they can prepare ahead of time as to who their target market is, what these individuals are actually buying, and then they can decide, okay, do we give them more discounts? Do we create more adverts, more awareness for these products so that our customers are going to be more likely to actually buy them, right? So these are things that businesses use to help them understand what next step they actually need to take, okay? Now that we are done with all our KPIs, we still need to be able to interact with them efficiently. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in two slicers, all right, or rather filters. One will be for my date so that I can select a particular date in time so that I can be able to say, okay, during October, from October 10th to October 20th, what was the sales trend? What were the products that were most sold during this period? And then we can start looking at the regions that actually brought in those major sales. So I'll go in here to where I have my slicer, all right? As the name implies, slicer, it slices our data into tinier bits, okay? Not permanently, but just, to help us see a little bit deeper into our data. All right, so right here, I'll just bring in my information. Let me just bring in my dates. All right, just click on dates and we have our slicer there. Okay, so here I'll just increase the value. All right, I think that's that. Another one would be my segments, okay? We have segments here in this data set. This includes the kind of businesses that we work with, right? At the government or, the small businesses bringing in more profit when we distribute these products to them and so on and so forth. So this is exactly what this will do for us to help us see which particular segment in our distribution funnel is actually bringing in more business. Do we need to increase the business that we do with them, give them more accounts, trust them by giving them more products on credit because they are always going to deliver based on the profit margins that they return, right? So these are things that will actually help us make those decisions. So let's look at the segments, all right? All right, so we have, okay, let me just fix that. All right, and fix it again. Okay, so this is coming together already. Yep. And finally, I think I'll just take out the header. All right, So our dashboard is beginning to come together. Okay, so now, like I mentioned, if I click on my data, you should be able to filter through, right? If I click on government, my data set filters through, it begins to move with the flow. Okay, so this is the government. Now, the government distribution shows here that Scotland is actually the place where we have more sales, okay? And they've been able to contribute to the total gross sales of 1 million. And we can see the profit margin as well. We can also see the same trend in terms of sales in December for the government distributors. And we can read into this chart as well. These fish and chips and whiskey are doing a very great number. All right. So another area that we can look at here would be the um, mid-market, all right, the mid-market distributors. Now, the mid-market distributors as well, we can see a different pattern to the data. Let me click on that again. All right, we can see a different pattern to the data. There's almost a similar distribution across Wales, I believe, and the England area. All right, so the color code is a bit similar. So it just shows a little bit of difference, but Wales is still taking the lead here. Now, we also have the same for North Ireland, but Scotland is not doing so great for mid-market business. All right, so we know where our focus area for mid-market distributors are already, right? Wales and England. And we can see the same similar trends that is going on here. We look at the small businesses as well, okay? And we have a different trend. Small businesses are more popular in England than any other place. So Wales has a little bit of business there, Scotland, and then North Ireland. But England, look at that color difference there, all right? So you can see everything happening in the business. We can easily evaluate sales performance. Now, if we want to look at a particular period here, we can either use this button to, move our data. Okay, we're just looking at a particular time period in October, as you can see here, to November. We can use that toggle button, or we can just go ahead and pick a particular date that we want to look into, right? And our data adjusts to it, just like that. Okay, that is exactly how we can generate insights from this. Now, let me just do a little bit of finishing touches to this, and then I'm going to be throwing some questions to us as to what is the most standing out insight that we can actually see in this data. So take your time, look at this dashboard. Once I ask that question, I want you to drop something for me that you'll be recommending to the manager of this business based on what you can see here. All right? So just sit tight and let me go ahead and edit this. Okay. All right. So I just want to go ahead and add the title there, our financial analysis reports. Okay. What other way to make sure that your data is properly seen than to make sure that, it has a good title. So let me just bring that in. All right. I hope while I'm doing this, we are thinking about that response or that recommendation that we want to give the business, right? So please make sure to just look at the chart and see exactly what you would do or what you will be telling your manager at the end of the day when he asks you to, give them a feedback. Okay. All right. So, and we are done. So now back to us, right? I said while we were doing our editing, I want to know be, what exactly would you be recommending to this business? Does anyone have an idea of what they will be doing? So Caleb is saying I couldn't follow. I understand that. So you won't be able to follow through everything while you're on the call, but definitely you should be able to do that once you get the recording. All right? Should be able to do that once you get the recording. Okay? So Umba says, please, can we see Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4? But that won't be possible. All right? The reason being that the data set provided only has Q4. All right? It only has Q4 data available. All right, it only has Q4 data available. All right, Caleb, no problem. Go ahead and, input your information so that you can also access this recording. All right, no problem. Reach out to, I believe you know your coordinator already. Just reach out to him. You know how we do it. Provide you some time to explain everything. Okay, reach out to Bong about your request as well. We don't have any problem with that. He should be able to reach out. Okay, so yes, so Stephanie says since they have a lot of sales, they can consider selling more during that period. All right, that is also amazing. Okay, exactly. They should consider selling more during that period. They should consider making more strategies as to how they can leverage December for their sales. Okay, December sales is fine. The company can copy that. Fantastic. So they look into what they have done right in December, but because of the seasonal period, they can take advantage of it. People are more relaxed and willing to spend more money on things like this, right? So they should definitely put in more money there. Okay, peak sales seems to be in December. I would promote during other periods. All right, so Anthony has a different perspective. So since it's easy to sell in December, I would do my promotions during other periods so that we can boost sales in those times as well. All right, that also makes sense. Okay, I would also recommend that for the business because we want to make money all year round and not just in December, but we also want to take advantage of what is happening in December, right? And then double our sales. Okay, so yeah, so I can see Stephanie says also since the ROS is low, they should also leverage the data they should also leverage the data team to understand what products are not selling well. All right, so we already have the product information here. We can see baked beans. Baked beans is taking the back seat on that. So we know exactly which product is not selling well. And we also know the products that are doing very well. We evaluated our profit margin on each of these products, and we can see exactly how much we are making. All right, they can improve marketing in October and November to increase sales. So Bali, exactly. I believe that is exactly what Anthony has also suggested as well. I love when we think like this. So we're already critical thinkers in the making, and this is exactly what is required for us to actually become business problem solvers, all right? The data detectives, the uh, people that they go to when they want to see what is happening in their business, all right? So I'm going to just take us through exactly how we can leverage Power BI. We've seen how we can use it already, but how do we go ahead and actually learn this particular skill set, okay? How do we go ahead and learn this particular skill set and leverage it for our own good? Okay, so let's get back to our slides. Now that we've seen how we can actually build a dashboard and use Power BI to make decisions for a business, I can also help us see, yes, how we can use these skill sets to land a high-paying job opportunity. All right, so a lot of us might have come to this call to say, okay, if I learn these skill sets, if I know how to use Power BI, how then do I, make money out of it? All right, so I can say someone like Caleb says, I'm working on Power BI, I'm struggling a little bit, but I still need to know more about it. All right, as usual, in analytics will always provide you that time to help you understand even more. All right, we'll teach you in class, we'll teach you outside of the class, and we'll keep teaching you as the time goes on. Now, another thing we want to do here is also to make sure that aside from gaining the knowledge, we want you to make sure that you land that job. All right, so it's not just enough for us to see how we can leverage financial data in Power BI to make decisions, but how can we land jobs in that? All right, so before we talk about landing job, I also want us to know that there are a lot of jobs available out there for us to apply to. All right, and in analytics, we've picked out all those skill sets that actually help us to transition easily. All right, so we have the ease of learning, ease of transitioning, and also a high and rewarding salary waiting for you after picking up this skill set, okay? And this is very possible in areas such as data analytics, financial analytics, and even HR analytics. Now, these areas I've mentioned are areas that specifically leverage data analytics methods to help them generate insights for their businesses, either it being in the healthcare sector, in to financial driven sectors, maybe a commercial analyst and all that, or in fact a HR professional that is required to use data analytics to generate insights in HR areas, all right? Something like employee performance, understanding how to leverage resources and plan the workforce and so on, right? So these are career paths that you can easily transition to help you land a high paying job. All right, we've seen how easily it was for us to just take a data set and put it into piece by piece to make sense of what is happening in the business. And a lot of us started giving suggestions here and there. Okay, this is what I think we should do, and this is the steps that we should take. We should do promotions here. We should, leverage what is happening in December so that we can make more sales, double on it, right? And these are ways that you can help businesses. A lot of them are looking for people to help them make sense of their data, either it's being in diverse sectors actually. Financial analysts are needed, HR analysts are needed, data analysts are needed. Now, if you have looked at what is happening so far, we know that there's a lot of change in the world right now. And as we know, the World Economic Forum has mentioned that in the next 5 years, which is 2030, 170 million jobs will be created. Okay, 170 million jobs will be created. And what still happens? Okay, everything that has a good impact also has a negative impact, right? So if 170 jobs will be created, it means that 92 million jobs are going to disappear. All right, there are a lot of jobs that we grew up knowing, okay, that we are much familiar with, that have disappeared right now. All right, we don't see them anymore. Okay, we don't see them anymore. They are not relevant to the society anymore. And this is exactly what is happening in every job or every area in the world. Now, one thing that stands out for this particular career path that we are discussing right now is the fact that the world cannot do without data. They always need information, and they always need to be able to make sense of that information that they are collecting. Okay? Either it's been understanding how to recruit the best individuals, understanding how to make financial decisions for their business, or even evaluating logistics for their company, or how they consume fuels, or airport, or airport management, right? So whatever it may be that a business needs, you with your data skill can definitely stand out in any place. All right. So let's look at some of those jobs that are actually going to help us in staying relevant in the next 5 years. All right. One of the main skills that we have here, as we can see here, is big data specialist. As the name implies, data. All right. So data is actually the number one thing here. So big data specialists, like just like we just did right now, working with data, evaluating insights, generating information, and also giving the business recommendations, right? We are also going to be able to use that skill set in the next 5 years. Now, not just that, we also have data skill sets appearing again on this list. These are the list of jobs that are going to grow, okay, and not decline. All right, you can see the percentage of growth that is available here. So those top jobs, we can see them right here. Big data specialists, data analysts, and data scientists. These are people that companies are going to be hiring more of. All right, vacancies are always available. Now, if you looked at the previous slide, you notice that there are a lot of, that's the job availability slide. There are a lot of jobs. If you go on LinkedIn, Indeed, Total, and you type in the word data analytics, HR analytics, financial analyst, you will see a lot of jobs coming up on your screen. All right. That means companies don't just need this individual, they realize the importance of these individuals in their company. All right. They understand that if they don't have these particular individuals, they will not be able to make the right decision as to what is the next step to take, what is the right decision, how do we actually make sense of these data sets that we have here. We are trying to get from point A to point B, but we need to make sure that this is we can evaluate what is happening in our business efficiently. Now, this is where we all come in as a data analyst, a financial analyst, or a HR professional. All right. These are the places that we come in to help businesses streamline their decision-making process effectively. All right. Now, as a data analyst, you also have a leverage in the area of business intelligence analyst. Okay. You also have a leverage in the area of business intelligence analyst. Now, for a business intelligence analyst, it's also you using business intelligence tools such as Power BI to make informed decision for the business. Now, like I mentioned, all these jobs are reappearing over again. How many times can you see data here? We've pinpointed 3, but if you sit down with this and look very well, you will see other relative roles that still relate to data. All right. Now, I'm still going to show us the different titles that these jobs are hidden under, so you know how much relevant a data-driven role is to businesses and, in fact, to the job market in the future, right? Now, let's understand what these career paths are. I'm sure a lot of us are wondering, what is a data analyst? Who is a financial analyst? And who is a HR analyst? And how do they actually use data, right? Now, for a data analyst is basically responsible for analyzing, interpreting data to generate insights and support data-driven decision-making, okay? A data analyst is responsible for analyzing and interpreting data to generate insights and support data-driven decision-making. The data analyst basically helps businesses to answer 2 questions. what happened, which is a descriptive data analytics, all right? That's taking the historical information of a business or the data generated by a business in the past to make sense of what is happening, just like the case study we just did, right? We took data from the fourth quarter to help them understand what has happened in the business. What's the financial performance like based on the existing record? And then we also look at why did it happen, all right? Now, after we've taken the data set available and we lay it out on the dashboard for us to see what is happening, we can easily pinpoint areas where there was a fluctuation and change, and we can relate it basically to what happened in the business. Maybe there was a network downtime during that period, which made the business not to be able to make much sales during that period, right? We can drill down to a particular date. And if it's even available in the data, the particular time that occurred, we can also drill down to that particular time so that we can account for the reason why something actually happened in the business, all right? This is how data analytics processes are for every data analyst professional. You understand what happened in the business or help a business understand what happened, and then you also help them understand why it happened. All right? What happened, why it happened. Now, it's not just based on maybe, I believe some of us would think, okay, anytime there's a network downtime, we have to note the time for it. Now, sometimes it can be based on, you know, uh, things that impact the world, right? But either economically or things like pandemic. We know what happened during COVID-19, and we also know what happened to a lot of businesses during COVID-19. Now, it also reflected on a lot of businesses' data. They can easily tie a downtime in their business to that particular event, right? That is them answering, why did this particular issue happen? Now, if there's also a spike in sales, we can easily tie it down to a particular reason, okay, why it happened. Now, we looked at that data set right now, and we saw when, how sales was moving in October and November. And in December, we saw a very high sales. Now, we suggested that this was tied to the fact that people were going off from work and spending more time with family and friends, or in fact, flying into the country to celebrate the Christmas season. All right, these are things that we can use to understand what is happening in a business. Now, who is a financial analyst? A financial analyst is a professional that specializes in using financial data to guide investment decision, evaluate company performance, and forecast financial trends. A financial analyst is simply a data analyst who analyzes financial data. That is as simple as it is, which is why we are looking at everybody together, all right? So we are all data detective. Either you're a data analyst, a financial analyst, or a HR analyst. You are making use of data to help a business make informed decision. Now, for the financial analyst, you look at finance-specific data. Either you are helping a business guide their investment decision, or you are helping them evaluate the kind of expenses that they are going to make, or the kind of profits that they are going to be expecting in the nearest future based on the business that they find themselves and all that, okay? So this is exactly what the financial analyst does for a business. Now, for the HR professionals, okay, this requires, the HR analyst is a professional who helps analyze people data, all right, in terms of hiring trends, employee performance, to advise HR policies and strategies. Now, a HR professional is simply a data analyst who analyzes people data. So the same skill sets that are required for a data analyst is the same skill sets a HR analyst and a financial analyst would also require, at least as their baseline skills, to be able to make informed decision for a business. So imagine a business working on making sure that they hire better employees, right? And a HR analyst or a HR professional, just an ordinary HR professional, comes in and says, you know what, we are just going to look at, Mr. Fumbi. Mr. Fumbi has been performing well, so we are going to ask him if he knows anybody, right? That's not efficient hiring. You take your employee data, you evaluate it based on performance, based on activity, and based on skill sets to understand what is missing in your employees, right? In terms of skill gap, what is missing, what kind of employees fits well into your organization, and then you start looking towards that in terms of hiring. All right, that's how a HR professional will leverage data to make efficient decisions. All right, if you look through very well in the finance sector, in the HR area, and also in fact in the area of data generally, there has been a lot of transformative decisions that have been made by a lot of big companies in terms of using data to make informed decision. All right. So I want you after this call to just go online and check how has maybe Google leveraged data to make informed decision. If you are interested in finance, HR, or in fact data analytics in general, you can also do that research. Okay. For someone who is interested in finance, how has data analytics or financial analytics helped KPMG or Deloitte to make transformative decision making in relating with their clients and all that. And you will see how these skill sets are actually helping to transform business processes and helping them to gain more clients and make more money. I mean, you know how all these companies operate and you know the kind of money that they make. So imagine being part of them and also getting your pocket stacked in this kind of places. All right. So, yeah, now let's look at some of those jobs that you can actually apply to with these skill sets. For the data analyst, you are going to be able to apply to diverse jobs. Now, all these roles are usually looked at as, oh, you have to go online and look for data analytics specifically, or data analyst specifically, financial analyst specifically, or HR analyst, right? You want to go online and use these sheets that we have here, although there are many more, and you'll be getting access to all of them once you join the program, right? Now, for data analyst, you have the data analyst, business intelligence, marketing analyst, diverse titles that are used to reference a data analyst with the required skill sets as we have already mentioned. We also have the financial analyst, right? The financial analyst and investment analyst is also the titles that you can find when you're searching for job: portfolio analyst, pricing analyst, analyst, financial planning and analysis analyst, corporate financial analyst, and so on. Now, for HR analytics, you see the HR analyst, people analyst, workforce planning analyst, talent acquisition analyst, HR operations analyst. These are all the names that different companies call these individuals. And if you go online and search all of these, you would see tons of jobs coming up, right? And they are attached with very generous salaries that will make you very, very comfortable, right? And I believe that is all what we are looking for: something extra, something that will make us more comfortable and help us live a convenient life. Imagine not having to stress about weekends and all that. You just relax, take a staycation or any of those things, just because you have a reliable job that you can do even from the comfort of your home. Imagine that, right? No more transits. All right. So let's look at how we can actually become a financial analyst, a HR analyst with Tenalytics. So as a financial analyst, our key learning plan will be looking at structures just like the data analysts have. All right. So we have the problem solving. You learn how to leverage problem solving methodologies in terms of making informed decision. You also look at how to use Excel from beginners to advanced. You look at Power BI as well, just like we've looked at on this call, but even more in depth. How to leverage Power Query efficiently, and also how to build your dashboard. You see even more technical ways that you can leverage dashboard development and delivery as well. You learn how to tell stories with your dashboard and how to present properly to your stakeholders. You also learn how to use structured query language, SQL, a database tool that most businesses use to store their information. How do you query and speak to this tool to get information? As a financial professional, you need at least the basic skill sets of a data analyst before even diving into skill-specific areas like financial accounting fundamentals, financial analysis, how to build a financial model, valuation, sensitivity and scenario analysis, and so on. Now, trust us to make sure that we are always going to show you how to leverage AI for analysis. A lot of individuals are scared about how AI is going to go ahead and take their jobs, but that is not the case with what is going on in the world right now. Okay, so you want to know how to be able to leverage AI instead of being afraid of the AI revolution. AI cannot do anything without human interaction. All right, at least at this very stage, if you do not know how to use AI, it will definitely take over your job, or the people that know how to use AI will definitely be taking over your job. So what better way than to understand how to leverage AIs like ChatGPT and in fact even Oluko AI that we at Analytics are leveraging right now to help us make informed decision. All right. So these are tools that are made available during your learning process to see how you can stand out against others to help you get to your final destination, which is to actually land a job. Now, as a HR or financial analyst, you are going to be able to find jobs that fall under this range of salary. I believe you can see the salary at the top of my screen here. You can see if you're in the UK, you should be expecting an average of £51,091, and in Canada, £69,093,931, and in US you should be expecting an average of $74,114. All right. Now, these are all the things that you should have in mind. Now, with Analytics, we have two classes prepared for you. For those in the EU, UK, or African region, we have the morning session, which starts by 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. West African time. Now, those in the Canada and North American region, US and Canada, right? We have the evening class, which is from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. West African time, which is an equivalent of 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. All right, this is to make it convenient for those of us in diverse regions to be able to join the class and get full premium benefits just like everybody else. All right, now we also have the self-paced videos, that's the Watch Me Do It videos, where individuals can also go ahead and watch some videos at their own spare time to ensure that they get good knowledge of what is happening in class. The live classes are where you interact with your lecturers as well as your facilitators or professionals like myself to help you understand how to leverage these tools, working on real life case studies from diverse organizations to help you gain more insights and strengthen your knowledge of all of these tools. The self-paced videos will give you introductions into all of these programs, and then all the practicals, we get to do them in class. Now, what is the timeline for this program? Now, for the WID month, we are going to be working with a timeline of 8 months, right? There's 6 months of learning in class and 2 months of internship. We're going to talk more about this as we go along, all right? Let's look at what we have here for the data analyst. Now, just like I just evaluated for us, the financial analyst, the data analyst as well has everything that I just mentioned, right? Problem solving, Excel, SQL, Power BI. Now for the data analyst program, we're also going to look at Tableau, data storytelling, how to leverage ChatGPT, and Microsoft Fabrics. Now, most of the things that the data analyst is going to be doing, the financial analyst and the HR analyst are also going to be leveraging that. The class timing on live classes and self-paced remains the same, and the learning timeline of 8 months also remains the same. That's 8 months being 6 months of learning and 2 months of internship. All right. Now let's look at the HR analyst. The HR analyst also has their data analytics specific pathway and then HR specific pathway. All right. The data analytics specific pathway is attached problem solving, Excel, Power BI, SQL. And this is to help them understand how to leverage all of these tools before using it to answer HR related problems. All right. That's looking into evaluating employee performance, HR metrics and life cycle, HR analysis and dashboard development, collaboration and report automation, and so on and so forth. All right. Like I mentioned, ChatGPT or AI will not be missing from your program because you need to know how to leverage AI in terms of decision making or data analytics. Okay, it still stands the same for the live classes and the self-paced program. 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. WAT for those in EU, that's European Union, and in the European Union, UK, EU, and also those in Africa. All right, this is the best time for us. Now for evening, we also have 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. WAT, Canada, all right? 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. WAT, which is the Canadian time, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, all right? Now, like I mentioned, self-paced videos are always available every week. On Sundays, you should have your new self-paced videos, but with the new structure, that's the 6-month structure, it will not be every week. At least you should have it at intervals, all right? So as to give us more time to master the skill sets and understand them, all right? Now, the same still stands. We have the learning timeline for 8 months, that is 6 months of learning and 2 months of internship. Now, what do we have here? All right, so in our learning process or journey, we're not just going to be coming into classes and all that. We have our self-paced areas that have been tailored for our students. The first one we have here is the LMS, the Learning Management System. Learning Management System is where we're going to find all our self-paced videos. Now, this is a structured website that actually helps you to watch your videos every week, and it's going to be available to you all through. That's lifetime access for you throughout the time or once you register with Tenalytics. All right. Now, you don't just have access to the LMS, you also have access to a Google Classroom that gives you all the information that you need about your classes, and also your live class recordings are available right there in your Google Classroom. So if you join in, you don't just have your self-paced videos, you also have your live class recordings. That's all those classes you have on Saturday. We store it to record it for you and then make it available for you in the Google Classroom. These Google Classroom recordings are also for a lifetime, all right? So you don't have to worry about not being able to catch up with any of these things, all right? Now, we are not just all about technical. I'm sure I already mentioned that the reason why we are teaching you this is so that you can be able to land a high-paying job. So aside from the technical skills, we're going to make sure that we prepare you and make you employable. So we're going to teach you your employability skills as well so that you can land that job. Okay, so this employability package includes what? We have the CV review sessions, we have the LinkedIn optimization sessions, the navigating the job market, all right, teaching you exactly what you need to do to be able to navigate the job market. Then we're also going to look at interview preparation. Interview preparations are basically once you have a job interview, after optimizing your CV, your LinkedIn, and understanding how to navigate the job market, you're also going to be able to have access to individuals or professionals that have gone through these processes, and they will teach you exactly what you need to do to ace that interview. All right, you have sessions that will be talking to you and telling you exactly what you need to do to ace those interview sessions. Now, we also have the job reference letters. All right, once you land that job, you are going to require some reference letter or someone to back you up as to the skill sets that you have. I'm going to speak more on this about why or how you can have us in your job reference letter line. All right. Now, another thing here is that you are going to also have on the job support. You're not just going to go through the program and then it's done, right? Or you land a job and we say bye-bye to you. As part of Tenalytics, you are always going to be one of us. So if you need any support on the job, we are always going to be there for you. We would have our weekly mentorship sessions where you are going to have trained professionals, or in fact, people that have been in the industry for a very long time, recruiters and professionals coming to speak to you about their experience and what is required for you out there. And also individuals that have successfully transitioned, they will also be sharing their transition journeys with you privately in Tenalytics sessions. Now, not just that, for those interested in the freelance lifestyle, okay, you can also expect to get the Upwork optimization session that will prepare you for the freelance workforce, how to set up your profile, and how to attract these clients. Okay, now let's move on from this. Okay, we still have a lot in store for you. Now, not just employability sessions like I just mentioned, the CV reviews and all that. We would also provide tailored jobs to your specific programs. You get updates on all these jobs every week. Okay, these jobs that are gotten from websites or paid websites to help us get the right jobs. All right, we're not just going um into LinkedIn and just bringing in any jobs. We are bringing in relevant jobs, jobs that are actually taking applications. All right. So I want you to go in there, select your or click a link. If you are looking for sponsorship, we'll indicate it right there if that job is sponsoring. If you are comfortable where you are and you need to just change a job, you can also go in and apply for all of these different roles that are made available. All right, you would have access to this in your Google Classroom. So you don't have to worry about hunting for jobs. You just have a sheet right there. You click and apply, and that's that. Okay. Now, we also have access to personalized learning AI assistance. I already mentioned that Oluko. This is to help you navigate your learning journey. If you have errors with code or you have questions about career paths and all that, Oluko AI, your teaching assistant, is going to be there to assist you and help you pass through some of these hurdles. Now, Oluko AI is there for you. We also have other individuals that will be there for you during your learning journey. Now, I mentioned something about job reference letter. Now, this is the specific reason why I said you would need a job reference letter from us. So as a participant in Tenalytics, you would have the opportunity to include Tenalytics and Amdare on your CV. Now, these are companies that are not located in Nigeria, but are located and registered internationally. This will also improve your credibility as a professional and make you more acceptable in all of these companies. All right. So, like I said, you don't just get the opportunity to uh, study with Tenalytics, but you get the opportunity to put Tenalytics on your CV as a consultant. All right. So in Tenalytics, you are going to be spending 6 months with us learning how to use the skill sets and working on a diverse real life project. And then you move on to your internship in Amdare, where you are going to be working on hands-on projects and diverse team members as well to be able to strengthen your skill sets and showcase your knowledge about a specific field or program that you would be enrolled in. All right, so this is exactly how it works. All right, so let's look at some of those individuals that have actually made it, all right? People that have gone through the program and then they came out successful. There are a lot of people that have actually gone through this, and you can see a lot of smiling faces. Immediately I just clicked on it, a lot of individuals smiling already. That's how excited people can be when they actually fully make the transition. You can see Ngozi here, Ngozi in the middle, is really happy because she's working from home. She doesn't have to worry about the hurdles of, trying to get to work, catch a bus and all that. She's working fully remote and very comfortably. All right. You can see Lois as well. Lois was able to secure a job in the UK, and Oluwadam Larry as well was able to join um, a workforce in the UK as well. These are all individuals in the UK, and they've been able to land a tech job, all right? Not just any job, a tech job. Now we have other individuals in the financial analytics programs and other programs as well. So this is Chike. Chike landed a job as a financial analyst. Grace also landed a job as a financial analyst after our program with analytics. The same with Solomon. Solomon with an engineering background, all right, landed a job as a financial analyst after training with the financial analytics program right here in Nigeria. And Akintola got a job as a CFO in Nigeria after completing the financial analytics program. Can you see that? I mean, okay, so this is totally amazing. Now, another thing here is other individuals as well that got jobs as financial analysts. So if you go into this slide, you click on it, you should be able to access the video recordings, or it should take you to exactly where these individuals are. These are WhatsApp testimonials as well of individuals, or rather WhatsApp recordings or screenshots of individuals when they came in and said, you know what, hey, I have an interview and I need you to help me prepare for that interview. And then they came back and said, hey, I got the job. All right. So we can see that here. They are so happy. They finally landed a job. These are HR analysts. These individuals are people in HR, right? They landed a job in HR analytics. Okay. And I believe Benin is in the region of Canada as well as America. So North American regions, UK as well, and so on. So wherever you are in the world, as long as you are looking or you are with the right set of people like Tenalytics, you are going to be able to transition fully. Now, this is Victor as well, HR analytics. All these individuals took the HR analytics program and were able to land jobs as HR analysts. There are a lot of success stories here for us to go through. We can look through them, watch and watch and watch, and you will not stop smiling because these individuals went through the program and got their result just by following everything that analytics has set up for them. So if you are joining the program, be open-minded towards following the steps to success, and you are definitely going to land a job. Now, this is our founder and our co-founder, Adeza and Efemina, going through the Alberta Catalyzer Velocity Program, all right? And these are nice articles to read as to what Tenalytics is doing next and what they have been up to. So we have this article covered in the Tech Cabal, and also you can see what is going on in this image, meeting with other brilliant minds to analyze and see where we can take Tenalytics to. And as part of Tenalytics, we're also taking you along, all right? So wherever we go, you follow, all right? So now, another thing I would like us to know is that Tenalytics is accredited by the American Council of Training and Development. So you don't have to worry about getting a certificate and saying, no, it's not relevant. It's definitely going to be relevant. But we already know in the tech world, experience is more valuable than certificates, all right? So we want to make sure that you have the skill sets over the certificate. But this is to tell you that we are very credible and ready to make sure that you get to where you need to get to. All right. So what is the next step? The next step is actually to remember to join the next cohort. The next cohort is going to be starting on April 5th, 2025. Okay. It's going to be starting on April 5th, 2025. So it is time for you to start locking down your slots. All right. Make sure to lock down your slots, choose a program, and lock down your slots. You have the financial analytics, the HR analytics, the data analytics pathway for you to actually land that job. All right. So make sure to lock down your spot. Now, before we start talking about locking down your spot, let's see exactly what it takes. All right, so we are having the WID, International Women's Day discount running. All right, the International Women's Day discount running. So all our programs are no longer going for $900, that's the full amount, but at a discounted price of $450. All right, $450. So if you want to make a payment instantly, just go ahead and click on this particular button right here. Let me just quickly show us what we need to do. Okay, so I'll just click on this button which says pay in installments. All right, so Analytics has also made available flexible payment plans that allows you to make payments as you go through the program. All right, so as to encourage more people to transition into tech and get that comforting job that we all deserve, right? So that is it. Okay, so I just want to open up the link here. I believe Sheol should have also dropped this particular link in the chat for us so that we can also access this. Thank you very much, Sheol. So you get 50% scholarship open to only 300 women and 50 men. All right. So if you're a man on this call, please make sure to rush before the 50 slots is taken. I believe a huge number of that is already taken already, but please don't take too much time. Secure your slots. You can fill out the form and the team will also reach out to you to make sure that you can secure your slot. All right. Now, for the 300 women, trust me, a lot of individuals are already locking down their slots. We know the amount of individuals that are coming in and securing slots in these programs. All right. Data analytics, financial analytics, HR analytics. So pick your program of interest and lock down or lock in. Okay. Pick your program of interest and lock in. All right, so this is our main stack area. So I want you to go in there, you click the link, you go in there, and then you look through or, you look through it. All right, we have a flyer here that shows us exactly how much this International Women's Day means to us in Analytics. This is a way of us giving back to the community and empowering women and men as well, because we don't want to leave the men out, all right, to also fully transition into tech at half the price. Okay, imagine that. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So why not grab it? All right. So you want to secure your slots in the IWD, go ahead and click on this link. All right. Once you make your payment and all that, you want to come back here and upload your receipt. All right. So you also have some numbers on the screen as well. You can see telephone number to Sheyi, Lydia, and Aimoa. All right. So this particular phone calls, or rather numbers, are very much accessible on WhatsApp as well. So you can see the WhatsApp line here, and you can also call these numbers based on where you are located, all right, to be easier for you. All right, so this is Nigerian and this is your WhatsApp number. You can also send emails, that's if you don't want to call, to make more inquiries about this program and secure your slot, all right? April 5th is just a few weeks away, all right? How many days? I believe it's not more than 14 days anymore. So please make sure to secure your slot. Once these slots are gone, it means you are going back to the full price of $900. And I believe everybody wants to take advantage of a good discount, all right? So please make sure to leverage that discount, all right? Now, what do we have here? Discount is available for the first 20 people to register. All right, the IWD discount is actually available to the number of individuals that have been mentioned. Once that slot is over, all right, trust me, you're going to go back to the full price. All right, so make sure to secure your slot as soon as possible. Okay, so now we are coming to the end of this, so we can look at some of Analytics achievements so far. So Analytics have been able to help over 2,850 individuals transition into tech through from their classroom, even with no experience, and then taking them from that to landing their first jobs in tech across UK, US, Canada, Europe, and Asia. All right. And you've seen a lot of testimonials. We still have more of those testimonials and documents that you can go through. And you can also visit Tenalytics YouTube channel to see more of that, all right? So that you can see how fellow individuals like yourself have been able to transform their lives using data, all right? So this is exactly what I want for all of you on this call as well. So please make use of this opportunity and transform your lives, all right? Now, this is all the brands and companies that Tenalytics have been able to work with in the past few years, and also where our participants are working in presently. So you can see the number of places that individuals have stepped foot from based on the fact that they took the right decision to transition into tech. Now, this is just a tip of the iceberg of the areas that we've touched, all right? This is just one page. If we put everything here, we would have, 200, another 200 pages of slides, all right? So now you can also take out time to read articles about Tenalytics. If you are still trying to find out who Tenalytics is, everything is right here for you. Do your research, find out what you want to find out. And you always see that Tenalytics is very credible and the best institution or edtech organization to help you transition in tech with ease, all right? I'll put a stress on that ease, okay? So yes, exactly. So thank you all very much for joining us today, and thank you all for coming. I'll be taking some questions before I call it a night, and then we can move on. All right. So again, please make sure that you have put in your information on the sheet so that you can receive all of tonight's recording. So if you have any question, now will be a good time. You can use the raise hand icon, all right, and we'll mute you so that you can speak. I would also like to hear your voice and, see you, or yeah, hear you basically. All right, so for those of us on the call still, please make sure to go ahead and do that. All right. All right, so Sky says, I have done that for weeks now. Fantastic. So you just grabbed the opportunity. All right, so for those of us that haven't still grabbed the opportunity, please take Sky as a good example of that. All right, Sky doesn't have any time. He just wants to make sure that, or she just wants to make sure that that slot is locked down. All right, no time to waste at all. That's just how it is, okay? No time to waste. All right, so please make sure to grab your opportunity as it's just available for a very short period of time. Make sure to do that. So Kat says, what about business analysis? So you can always fill out that form, all right, and make more inquiries. Business analysis is also available, but right now we are speaking on some data specific roles like data analytics, financial analytics, and HR analytics. Please fill out that form card and you'll be reached out to by a professional. Or you can message enquiries@tenalytics.io or message any number that you have right here on the screen. Just do a screenshot or a screen grab, all right? And you can call any of these numbers, okay? All right. All right, so I can see we don't have any more questions. I believe we don't have any questions at all, so we can call it a day. So thank you all very much for joining us tonight, and I'm very certain that you guys had an amazing time, and we are going to see you in class after you make that amazing decision to transform your life and transition into tech, all right? Or in fact, if you've already transformed your life, you can definitely add some spice into it by learning a tech skill that will help you stand out and also take your business to the next level. All right? Cheers and good night.